Welcome to Never Too Late, a brand new program for people enjoying the second 50 years. I'm Dorothy Wilhelm, and I've been over 50 since dinosaurs roamed the land, so I know what I'm talking about. In the next month, we're going to explore some of the challenges and opportunities of being over 50. But for our first show, I'm going to share a personal story. That is, it became very personal about 5 weeks ago when I found that I could not even walk without this cane. Like 250,000 of other Americans, I faced hip replacement and dreaded the pain and the long weeks of recovery that went with the surgery. Kathy Meredith of Gig Harbor talked about her husband Jeff and his hip replacement.
And he was really suffering. He could barely even get up off the couch to get himself a cold beer. So what can I say? I knew he was in trouble.
I reached a point where I just couldn't go on anymore, and I decided it was time to do something about this.
But Jeff and I, and others like pro golfer Tom Watson, learned about a new procedure for hip replacement which cut the recovery time to days instead of months and reduced the pain dramatically. Here's Dr. Robert Yancey to explain.
Well, it's kind of interesting because it is new.
Uh-huh.
You know, just like the hospital that we're in is new, this new technique is a new technique that's catching on in this country, but it originally started in the 40s in Europe. And it was originally a technique of fixing fractures. However, when people started doing more minimally invasive techniques for total hips, there were all sorts of problems because they couldn't see or they had lots of complications. And people became very logical about their thinking and said, what's the best way to do it? And so the best minimally invasive approach at this point is this anterior approach.
And that anterior actually means from the front, and if everyone will avert their eyes, I will tell you it's right about here and it's only about that long. It is incredible. You would love it. It's a different operating room, though. Nothing is exactly the same.
The operating room is different, and the big difference is that table that you might have seen when you originally came in before you were asleep.
Well, you know what I think? I think should we go show? You could show it to us.
We can show you the table.
I would like that. Let's do that. Dr. Yancey, this is the place, huh?
This is the place, and this is where we do your hip. This is a special type of table, and this is a table that was designed actually in Europe for a specific type of pelvic fractures. But there's been a number of evolutions of ideas of how this could be used for total hip, and now it's used for the anterior total hip.
And if I understand correctly, you actually did the posterior presentation for 18 years or so before.
I did the posterior approach for about 18 years, and it's still a very good approach. But the neat things about the anterior approach are that it took the ideas of the problems that you had with a posterior approach, which were...
That's the backside.
That's the backside, which were dislocations where it could pop out if you bent over the wrong way. And that's especially problematic with people that play golf and things like that. It also allowed you to go between the muscles without cutting any muscles. And the last thing is that it's very, very minimally invasive. You don't really injure any muscles going in, so people have a faster rehab. The one thing that people really like is that they don't have to worry about how to get in and out of a car, or how to bend over or not cross their legs, or they don't have to look for a high toilet seat. And the other thing that's really nice is that the physical therapist and myself don't have to talk to you about all these things that you can't do.
Now show me it. This thing goes, this is a horrible thing to even think about, but it goes up and down.
When you were asleep, and we didn't do this while you were awake.
No, and don't think I'm not grateful.
We put these ski boots on your feet.
I can't ski, doctor.
So we just unbuckled these and put them on your feet.
On my feet.
Okay. And then we had you sit here, and your legs were here. And when we do the surgery, what happens is that we can move these and rotate these so that we can position your leg, and we can use a very small incision and stay between the muscles. And this approach was designed a long time ago, but they didn't have the table. And so they had to take off muscles, or they had to have an extra assistant doing all sorts of permutations in your legs. But actually this acts as an assistant. but you have to have somebody operating the table when you're doing the hip.
They even actually have more than one. I happen to know that. But
So
no,
so the other thing is that you can move this around like this, and we can move your leg around and lock this so that we can position your leg when we do the operation. So Dorothy, you want to see what type of stuff we put in your
yeah,
your
well, I
hip?
think I do. I'm going to, yes, I do. I
So
would
this
like to
is
see
this is
that.
what a hip replacement looks like, and this has got one. This is one that's coated, but here's one that has a different type of prosthesis. Okay.
What have I got?
You have one that's very similar to this. Okay. And what happens is that when people are sitting down on the table, the hip is actually dislocated.
Yes.
So that we can put
And you
this
can
in.
flop the hip all around, can't you?
We can
guess
rotate it out, and then we actually rotate it out like this. This goes down into the hip,
And you pound it in.
gently pound it
Gently
in,
pound it in.
and then a ball goes on the top, and sometimes the ball is big, and sometimes the ball is smaller. Okay.
And do you actually fit them then? You must.
It fits exactly. And so we have multiple sizes, and each time when we do a hip replacement, it ends up being sized up so that it fits perfectly in your size. Now, that's only half of it. The other half is this circular part right here, which goes into the pelvis, okay? And I have an example of that right here. This part goes into the cup, the ball and socket part, and then this part fits in here, and this is a plastic insert, and some people have a metal insert.
How long? What have I got?
You have a plastic insert.
Because
Just because we did plastic
That was
that
the-
day,
that was
and
the
that was
day.
the best fit. But some people get metal, some people get plastic, some people get ceramic, and there's different permutations of what you can put in.
how long can we expect the joint to last? Will it last longer than I do?
Well, these will last probably about 20 years or more. Now, the ones
it's
that
gonna
were
be
done
close.
20 years ago are lasting about 20 years. And so the hope is that the ones that we're doing now with a minimally invasive approach are going to last longer.
This is part of a team strategy by Franciscan Health System's Orthopedic Service Line. They send you to joint camp. They even give you flowers.
And then when you come to joint camp, you're actually reside in an area where all the other patients are there for the same exact reason.
Get up for meals.
You
They
get
get
up-
you right up the first day.
You start moving immediately. As soon as the first day, you're sitting on the edge of the bed, and then from then on, you're having PT sessions, and you're only in the hospital for 3 to 4 days at the most.
Now, don't forget the gourmet dinner.
Oh, that's probably our most popular feature of the joint camp is the opportunity for you and your support person to eat dinner with everybody else who just went through the same exact experience.
Although you do have to find your own support person. You don't
Yeah, we don't
furnish
supply
those.
that, no.
And then the golf game. You've got to tell about the golf game.
And we do miniature golf too. So there's all kinds of activities and lots of movement and a lot of PT, physical therapy.
And I still have one thing to look forward to, the reunion.
The reunion, and we bring everybody back about 2 to 3 months later, and everybody gets to see each other and see how they're doing and share stories.
The greatest thing that they need to know is that there are no limitations, no restrictions, that they should just live their life the way they desire to live their life. And that's very encouraging for them, that if they're gardeners or golfers or sailors, they can resume those activities in time without the concern of dislocating.
So, only 5 weeks after surgery, I'm back at work walking 2 miles a day, and Jeff Meredith is back to remodeling the home he loves and cycling for miles. No restrictions.
So I couldn't be happier. My quality of life is back. I'm back in the game again. Well, the surgery has just been slightly over 5 weeks, and I didn't expect to be able to be this active this quickly. I'm very pleasantly surprised, and this is enabling me now to get back to working on my house, which is what I've been doing, and I'm looking forward to be able to do that again, to be able to climb a ladder and just generally resume normal activities.